Ooga chaka, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga chaka, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka. Ah. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. I am not going to sing that whole song for you. Sorry about that. Tiki here. And I don't really have a show for this. It's just kind of my little review. It kind of fits outside of the vernacular of all our other little shows and programs that we do for y'all. Just a little heads up. This is just going to be a quick, probably 10 to 15 minutes, although knowing me, I'll probably go on a lot longer than that. But overall, just a quick impressions video from yours truly about a tiny little movie that you might have heard of that opened today nationwide called Guardians of the Galaxy, the latest in a little itty bitty little indie film project they've got going on called the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I thought I'd get on camera right away and share my thoughts on it. This will be spoiler free for the most part. There is one thing I absolutely have to get off my chest. Um, but I'll save that for the end of the video because appropriately enough, it comes right at the end of the movie. And oh my god, it was quite possibly the most fanboy moment I've ever had in a movie theater. Let's just put it that way. I did not see it coming in a million frickin' years. But anyways, back to the beginning. So Guardians of the Galaxy, what were my expectations of this movie kind of going into it? Well, to tell you the truth, they were pretty high. And that usually works against me when it comes to seeing movies. Just sorry about my camera. Let me get this straightened out. For me, usually, historically speaking, if I go into a movie and I'm like really stoked about it, I'm going to be let down at least a little bit. At least like because it's like the problem is you form an expectation in your head about what that movie is going to be like, and then when it's not that, even if it's a quality film, your expectations are still let down, and it just ends up, it ends up being a disappointing experience regardless. Case in point with me, Godzilla. I was hugely looking forward to Godzilla, massively so. I was stoked for that movie. In the end, I'll definitely see it again. I'll definitely check it out when it comes out on DVD. But in the end, I was just kind of like, that was okay. That was a decent movie. Maybe a 6, 7 out of 10. Uh, I didn't really. I mean, for obvious reasons, like the whole death at the beginning of the whole death that happens very early on. Anyone who's seen Godzilla knows what I'm talking about. That really rubbed me the wrong way. The fact that all these characters were really quite bland. I don't. That's my problem. Like, I was expecting from Godzilla, I was expecting a lot of Jurassic Park, and I definitely got that production-wise and how they handled Godzilla himself. The problem with Jurassic Park comparison is that Jurassic Park had likable characters, and they had interesting characters. Even the lawyer was fun and interesting and likable in his own way. And with this, it's like you just get Aaron Taylor Johnson as soldier guy the whole movie, and he just seems like, de facto audience avatar. And it's just, I don't know. But anyways, enough about Godzilla. So my point is, with Guardians of the Galaxy, I did have very high expectations for this thing. Very high. I loved the trailers. I loved the vibe they were giving off. That these are quirky as hell characters, so we're going to make a quirky as hell movie. Probably my single favorite part of the marketing campaign is a very simple detail, which is at the bottom of the official poster. It's like, from the studio that brought you the Avengers and Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and then at the very bottom, just the simple words, "You're welcome." I love that. I love that. I love that Marvel was so clearly able to take a big ballsy risk and put all this money behind characters that not even hardcore comic fans knew about to a certain extent. Like, we're talking like Guardians of the Galaxy. They are obscure even by comic book community terms. So, but it's so cool. So, anyways, enough with my setup. What I think of the actual movie going into it. Well, I'm gonna say this right now. I feel like I would have enjoyed this a lot more had I just sucked it up, spent a couple extra bucks, and went to a proper evening screening of this movie rather than a 1 o'clock screening. And this is by no means a fault of the movie itself, but is there some sort of like written contract that people have to abide by where if you go into a matinee screening you can't be as into the movie as if you pay extra to go to the non-matinee? I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. Because it's not like I was in an empty theater. I mean, I wasn't in a full theater, but I'd say the theater that I was in was more than 3/4 of the way filled, and it was theater number one in my movie complex. So that means it was the biggest theater. So there are a lot of heads in that house, but no one was fucking laughing. Like, the most you would get is like an awkward chuckle here and there. There was no moments of the audience just systematically just applauding, and that was so disappointing to me to have a full house and to not get to experience it, because I was super into it, man. I was laughing at all the jokes. I was trying desperately to not be the jackass who was way more into it than everyone else around him. I mean, I probably was that guy, but I was just trying to rein it in. But that's the thing. In this movie, you shouldn't have to rein in nerdgasmy emotion like that. It's an awesome movie. It really is. I mean, it's Marvel in space. It's Marvel's equivalent of Star Wars. That's what I was hoping it would be. That's what it delivered. I have a few little concerns about it. I mean, I definitely don't think that the plot is all that clear. It's simple enough to follow. It's not like I get lost in the plot, but it's just like, I don't know. In a weird way, the plot to me kind of feels like it's too simplistic and too convoluted at the same time. I guess maybe kind of akin to something like, I don't know, maybe Pirates of the Caribbean. The fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie, where I don't remember that movie enough to remember its subtitle. That's how forgettable it is. On Stranger Tides, there you go. But Pirates of the Caribbean, where the whole Fountain of Youth thing, yeah, really simple story. Convoluted the fuck out of it, though, by all those rules about the Fountain of Youth. Here I feel like it's kind of the same thing, although I know that the convoluted stuff is setting up other big things in the Marvel universe, so I can kind of give them a free pass for that a little bit, because there's definitely stuff with the Infinity Gauntlet and all that going on that I feel, I don't know, to tell you the truth, that's the one thing where it's like, it's obvious that this is just build up to not even Avengers 2, really, but more so Avengers 3, which is what I really kind of thought was odd, because as a lead-in to Avengers 2, the Avengers are fuck all, like, not even mentioned in this movie. Not even so much as a passing, like, name drop or anything like that. So that kind of surprised me, considering how the first movie that directly tied into the Avengers, Captain America, I mean, that had a very clear-cut way that it tied into the Avengers at the end of it. So this, it's kind of like, yeah, hey, we went on this awesome offbeat space journey, and we learned some exposition about the bad guy from the third Avengers movie. Now here's the second Avengers movie. I don't know. That was a little bit questionable to me. Like, I don't get me wrong, it was cool to see Thanos. It was cool to get the Infinity Gauntlet thing right off the bat, but I don't know. Part of me just wishes there was a little bit of an Avengers 2 tease in this thing. maybe just something like, oh, Tony Stark's developing a new robot named Ultron on Earth or something like that. Something. Give us something. Maybe like a shot of the Hulkbuster armor, an Easter egg, anything, man. Come on. Uh, okay, but in regards to clearly the best part of this movie is the chemistry. I mean, these people probably have better chemistry between them than the Avengers do. And that's no small task to accomplish. Yeah, definitely. Star-Lord, Chris Pratt. I am so excited that this guy is going to be in Jurassic World now. So very excited. I think this is exactly the kind of guy to breathe personality into the Jurassic Park franchise again, because Chris Pratt is just oozing with charisma. He's just got charisma just radiating off of him on screen. Definitely, I'd say easily the most charismatic leading man in a Marvel movie, next to Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. I mean, this guy is just, his love of the 70s and 80s music, the Walkman he carries around, that's a huge part of his character, and they work it into the film marvelously. Marvel. I don't know. I'd have to go back and see. Like, I'm curious if the Walkman that he has is as significant in the comic book. I'm curious about that, because they made a really big deal out of it in the movie, and I thought it worked perfectly. It's just, it's so cool. What's cool about it is that it's the first time I can remember since Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist where the soundtrack directly comes from the character's own personal collection of music. Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist definitely does that. By the way, that totally has nothing to do with Marvel, but Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, definitely a movie I need to review at some point. To me, that is the quintessential teen movie, but I digress. Like I said, nothing to do with Marvel at all. So yeah, I love that choice to do the soundtrack like that. Just effing brilliant. The opening scene, man. Or might I say, no, not even the opening. The opening is really effective, for sure. But really, I love the frickin' title sequence. I love the opening title sequence in this movie. It's probably my favorite opening sequence of a Marvel movie. It is delightful as all hell. I'm not even gonna spoil what it is at all. It's just, let's just say it uses that Walkman to really beautiful use. It's it is quite hilarious. And and it just gives you such a great introduction to the character of Star-Lord without him ever saying a word. So I'll just leave it at that. Let's see, just kind of quickly going through the main Guardians of the Galaxy before I get to my real highlight of the movie that I don't think people are going to be talking nearly enough about, but I want to definitely highlight for you. But quickly going through the other Guardians, Gamora, I thought she was interesting. I thought her character arc was definitely probably the most fascinating out of all the Guardians, because she's essentially the daughter of the frickin' devil of this universe, or at least a stepdaughter. So I definitely think that Zoe Saldana disappeared into the role, and that's something that I was very nervous about, because Zoe Saldana, she's just like established herself now as this as this sci-fi queen. So, but yeah, in this role, you can barely tell it's Zoe Saldana. So that's really all I cared about with Gamora. I like her little interplay with Star-Lord. It's not the best love interest storyline in a Marvel movie, but I do like the fact that it's not really at the forefront at all. It's mostly just Star-Lord hitting on her for the most part, to be honest with you. Let's see. Drax, I definitely think, is going to be the surprise of the movie. I think people are going to go in just expecting to love Groot and Rocket. And don't get me wrong, Groot and Rocket are amazing as well. Groot probably one of the most interesting Marvel characters in this cinematic universe so far. I'll just give it that much. I can't wait to see more of this guy. Just the way that he can shapeshift and bend himself, and just the way that he communicates, it's fascinating. That Marvel really has just a terrific cinematic character on their hands with Groot. Rocket Raccoon, to tell you the truth, he was kind of the one who was the most sort of normal to me. And just that, like, yeah, he's a smart alecky rodent sidekick. It's like, oddly enough, for a superhero, we've never seen that. But we've seen the fast-talking rodent sidekick in movies, so I got very used to Rocket very early on, and by the time the movie was over, it's like you just accept that it's just a raccoon. It's like the effects are great. I mean, it's not like you don't know it's CGI, but the texturing is really good. Rocket's fur looks great. All the different textures and shades on Groot look amazing. And Rocket and Groot, they're definitely a pair. They're definitely a really good portion of the movie. Rocket wasn't as much of a comedic highlight as I thought he'd be. As a matter of fact, I'd argue to say that his character is really one of the more emotional of the movie in some surprising ways, which I won't spoil here. But interesting arc for Rocket. Definitely got more screen time than I thought he would. And like I said, by the end of it, you just very much accept that it's just a talking raccoon. It's just it's a Marvel movie, man. You just roll with it. Let's see. So the villains, we have the character of Nebula, who I know was set up in the Prelude comic, thanks to The Last Angry Geek and his review of those. She's interesting. She's probably the stronger of the two villains here, I'd wager to say, because she's got a very emotional tie with Gamora. I wish we would have seen that play out more. I wish we would have gotten like a flashback or something like that. The other bad guy, who I forget his name, which is never a good sign, he's just kind of a very stereotypical, like, I am going to use this to take over the world, of course. And it's, I don't know. He didn't really leave much of an impression. I mean, I like, above all else, I thought it was cool the way they introduced the Infinity Gauntlet into the bad guy storyline. But the actual person using it was just a very stereotypical, like, oh, I want power. Although, to be fair, he's kind of like, his whole storyline is that he's kind of like, like a servant to Thanos, and he's kind of sick of being in Thanos' shadow. So they try to give him an arc, but I don't know, it's just not really that deep or complex. So I guess, like, once again, like with Thor 2, the villain is probably one of the weaker elements. I have not seen Cap 2. I hear the villain in that is amazing, so keep that in mind. And then finally, Drax. Like I said, Drax is going to be the surprise hit of the movie. Excuse me. I love how literally he takes everything. His character has a lot of heart, a lot of humor. Just, I don't know. I love the makeup on him. I love the fact that with him and Gamora, it's not CGI. And for the most part with these people, it's not CGI. That's beautiful. That gives me hope for Star Wars. And also, there's physical sets wherever they can build physical sets. Really, the only time that the movie is very obviously CGI is in the big battle sequences. The big space dogfights and whatever. By the way, how cool is it that, we get that Star Wars-esque escape scene in Thor 2, and now we get, like, a whole movie of that kind of action? Oh, very cool, very cool. But, yeah, Drax, not really a lot to say about it. He's just a very, very meaningful character. Great performance, by the way. Dave Bautista definitely the one that people were probably the most skeptical about. No, he goes all in with his role. Yeah, he is committed. He is emotional. So very fun with the team. However, I've got to say this right now, and this is pretty much the last thing I'm going to say about this movie. Um, by far, I'm definitely, this is probably going to be a fact. By far, the most criminally underrated element of this movie is, and I say criminally underrated very hyperbolically because it's only been out for less than 24 hours, so, but I'm predicting that the most criminally underrated movie is going to be Michael Rooker, aka Merle Dixon from The Walking Dead. As soon as I saw that guy's name pop up in the credits, I was like, oh, sweet. And all I can say is that his character is basically Merle Dixon in the form of a Na'vi, and it's amazing. It's glorious. If you like the character of Merle Dixon from Walking Dead at all, pay close attention to this guy. He really stole the show for me. I really wish that this guy would have been the main villain. As a matter of fact, I hope he's the main villain in a new Guardians of the Galaxy moving forward. I mean, he is just, once again, he just oozes charisma. That guy is such a good actor. He's just really underrated in general, and I just love the whole idea and concept of his character. It's kind of Obadiah Stane-like in a way, but not really. It's more just, like, his character is essentially the character that raised Star-Lord in this new, in the titular galaxy, kind of showed him the ropes, and not to give anything away beyond that, but yeah, him and Star-Lord are kind of at a little bit of a disagreement. And as you know, you don't cross Merle Dixon. Crossing Merle Dixon is a bad idea. So that's really just like, please, people, if you're seeing this movie, please show proper enthusiasm for Michael Rooker, because he turns in a hell of a performance, and I love his makeup. Oh my God, I loved everything about that guy. It was such a pleasant surprise for me. For some reason, he just completely dropped off the radar. He was the one person that I had no idea was in this movie, and it was like the one thing where I was like, oh God, this is just stealing the whole show. Again, I highly doubt that most people walking out of this movie are going to be talking about Michael Rooker as the highlight, but I just wanted to emphasize that, because his character, it's really good. It's almost kind of like a Norrington-esque character, where it's like he's not on the side of the main character, the protagonist, but he's not really evil either. And I love characters like that, man. Oh God, I definitely think we're gonna see more of this guy if there's a Guardians 2, which at this point it's pretty much all but confirmed. So, I mean, they even say like Guardians of the Galaxy will return right at the end of the movie. So, all right, so yeah, that's pretty much my overall thoughts, and that's pretty much all I can go into without giving away any spoilers. Where does this rank in terms of my overall Marvel Cinematic Universe rankings? I don't think it's as good as Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is going to go ahead and remain my favorite Marvel movie, specifically because I think the plot of Iron Man 3 is so interesting and razor sharp. And just all the dialogue and wittiness, and just the fact that Shane Black just went ahead and made an old school 80s action movie out of Iron Man, set in Christmas time, no less. Yeah, I love the hell out of Iron Man 3. I know that's a controversial opinion. I don't care. It's by far my favorite still. I'm having a really hard time choosing between this and Avengers, but I think I'm going to give the slight edge to Avengers. Just because, again, Avengers was a little more streamlined, and it was a little more like, I don't know, the plot was, like I said, the only problem I have with Guardians is the plot is a little bit messy in the fact that they're setting things up for so far down the road. So, I don't know. Honestly, I don't even think I like this as much as Captain America. The first Captain America, I mean. So I'd say it's probably number 4 right now for me. I'd say right now my rankings of the Marvel movies would probably be number 1 Iron Man 3, number 2 Avengers, 3 Captain America First Adventure, and 4 Guardians of the Galaxy. That's not to say this isn't a really good movie, and don't get me wrong, I am sure my enthusiasm of this movie is only going to go up. If I get some extra cash this week, I very much want to catch a non-matinee show, because really that was my biggest criticism in my whole experience watching this movie, was that the audience was just like, oh, we're in a matinee, so we can't clap or laugh or anything. We just have to sit here silently. I'm just like, wow, fuck all y'all, because this movie's entertaining as hell, and I'm digging the hell out of it. I don't know. That just seriously, like, has anyone else had experiences like that where it's like they go into a matinee show and it's pretty full, and yet the people there are just fucking dead, even though they should be reacting to everything? It straight pissed me off, son. It's straight like, this is just like again. I really wish I would have just waited. The reason I went to a matinee was because I was so damn excited about this movie that I just wanted to see it as soon as possible. I wish I would have just waited until like a 7 o'clock showing or something like that, when when odds are I would have gotten people who are more into it. But, I can't take that away from the movie itself. But that sadly probably has something to do with my ranking, so I don't know. Right now, it's kind of hovering between 4 and 2. It's like I can't quite decide if I want to put it above or below Avengers and Cap. But regardless, that's it's definitely in the top 5. Definitely easily in the top 5 Marvel movies. So let's put it that way. By far the freshest, most unique out of all of them. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. My only problem is that the plot is a little messy here and there. So that's really my only significant beef. Okay, so that's basically my thoughts, and if you want to be completely non-spoil going into this, I would leave now, because I am. First of all, let it just be said that me and Blue Dragon 5, we are going to meet up, I believe, next Thursday to do a full-blown, probably multiple-hour-long spoiler podcast about this movie, where we go into each and every little detail about it. So look for that if you want my thoughts on some of the other spoilery stuff. But in the meantime, I just want to talk about the post-credit scene, and it's a pretty major spoiler. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to be surprised about the post-credit scene, just get out now. Just get out if you want to be surprised about the post-credit scene. All right? I'm warning you. About to talk about the post-credits. All right? Yeah, spoilers. Spoiler corner. Woo! Spoilers! Get out now! Get out! Spoilers ahead! Okay. I think I've given that proper warning. Holy fuck, Howard the Duck's at the end! Holy fuck! Oh my god! Oh, that was basically my reaction in the theater. I was in the theater. It was like I talked about how I was kind of trying to hold down my nerdgasm because I didn't want to appear to be the one jackass who was enjoying it way more than everyone else. But fuck it. When Howard the Duck came on for like 2 seconds, right at the very end of this movie, I was just audibly just like, what? What? And then, as the screen went to black, I just let out an, oh my god! Howard the fucking Duck! Out of all the Marvel characters, that Marvel owns, they pull out Howard the Duck! It's marvelous. It is just, oh my god. Oh. I truly hope that they actually plan on using him for something and not just that 2-second cameo. I really do. This was the one part of the movie where my audience actually decided to get a little bit vocal, so I couldn't even hear what he was saying. But all I knew was like, oh man, I saw that duck and I saw that cigar, and I was just like, I mean, oh my god. I'm floored. I was absolutely floored by that. I was just it was like a kid on Christmas time. That was thank you, Marvel. Thank you, Marvel, for that early Christmas present that I very much deserved after Christmas in July. Oh, that was just Again, you see him for like 2 seconds. It's so quick. But I was just freaking out. I was losing my shit. I was just like, oh my god, when I left that theater, the grin on my face was just so large. Oh, I would have never, ever expected that. That's why I'm hoping that if you're watching this, that you actually did leave or you've already seen the movie, because, oh man, because everyone who goes into this movie deserves to, everyone who goes to this movie and actually knows willingly that they are going to sit through the end credits going into it, because there's quite a lot of people walking out of this, and I'm just like, really? Really? People don't know by now? People don't know by now that you have to sit through the whole thing? Like, hello, McFly. I don't know. I was like, there was by the time the actual frickin' thing came around, there was about 20 people in the theater. Like, literally about 200 people just left. And I was just like, that is so stupid. This is a Marvel movie. Don't you know by now? Isn't it just like kind of cultural awareness at this point to stay till the very end credits of a Marvel movie? I mean, this is by far and away the best post credits that Marvel has ever given us, and it's one of the shortest. But like I said, my only hope is that they actually do something with Howard the Duck, and it's not just like this weird this weird thing that just exists at the end of the Guardians credits, like, oh, hey, Howard the Duck was an obscure 70s character, and Guardians are obscure 70s characters. Yeah, connection. I mean, I know for a fact this is never going to happen, but wouldn't it be amazing if somehow Howard the Duck was the main villain in Guardians 2? I know that's not going to happen. I know. But I'm just the kind of weird fucker who it's like, I adore when characters like Mario become the villain and stuff like Donkey Kong Jr. and I'm all over that kind of stuff. I just hope Howard the Duck is like, maybe make him like the collector's sidekick or something like that. Whatever. Just the fact that he's there. Just the fact that he is physically there and he is a tangible, real part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh my god, we got Howard the Duck in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before we got Doctor Strange. Wow. Just wow. Oh, I flipped my shit. I could not believe it when I saw it. Funny thing is, Blue Dragon 5, he was just like, I'm only going to tell you one thing, Tiki. I'm only going to tell you one thing. And that's that a character shows up at the end credits, and you'll never guess who it is, but you'll know who it is immediately. And I was really worried that I just straight up would not know who it was, because I'm one of those, like, very casual comic fans. I was a total jackass. I remember this distinctly. At the end of the Avengers, when Thanos came out, I was just like, oh my god, it's the Red Skull! Oh, that was not one of my proudest movie-going experiences. No, not at all. And then with Apocalypse, I was just left completely just like, what the fuck is going on. So yeah, but no, with Howard the Duck, I mean, Blue Dragon 5 was absolutely right. I would have never guessed Howard the Duck would show up. I was kind of thinking it'd be someone like Daredevil or maybe Luke Cage or someone like that, someone who's going to be in the Netflix series. But no, Howard the Duck, absolutely the last Marvel character on my mind, and just I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was floored by it. So, anyways, there's not really a whole lot else I can talk about with that one little thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. But once again, me and Blue Dragon 5, we will be back on Thursday for a full spoiler podcast of this movie. So look for that. In the meantime, I just kind of wanted to get my initial thoughts out there. And by the time Thursday rolls around, I might very well have a more concrete idea of how I feel about this movie. Because like I said, a lot of it is kind of painted by the lame-ass audience experience that I had. Shame on you, audience, for not getting into it. But, all right, anyways, so that's just about it. So, yeah, I'll see you guys later. I am Groot.